how much yung na-disburse nila? Ilang, what is the amount of how much money has been disbursed so far?
On total ho. On this program ho.
Program. On the program.
This program, 41 billion was disbursed.
Yung sa, yung sa, pagkukunwari sa SSS, gano'n?
Yeah, galing ho sa, true. Ang pera galing sa gobyerno, pero ginamit namin yung sistema ng SSS.
Okay.
So, SSS itself did not pay. It's the money of the national government.
Okay, good.
So, ang 3 lessons dito, number 1, is management. You set the timeline and you set the milestone. Kung ano ma-achieve at this particular point. Number 2, officials ng SSS, BIR, at saka DBP, at saka DOF, sometimes they met 2 to 3 times a day para lang masigurado na okay yung system, gumagana yung sistema. And finally, kung kailangan, you bring in the experts from the private sector. Hindi natin, government does not know everything. So we brought in people from the private sector here, from Microsoft. Tinulungan din po kami ng Union Bank. By the way, Union Bank, malaking shareholder ho sa Union Bank, ang SSS. So they also help us. So if you have a problem, bring in the private sector to help you. And you can solve it very quickly. But importante ho yung management na every day you are on top of the situation. Do not let any problem grow big. Okay? Kasi pag malaki na, mahirap na i-correct. So finally, again ho, that's why ho, we took lessons here at pinasok ho namin sa Bayanihan Tulo na as much as possible, lahat ng tulong sa tao, give it through the banks, through Lulier, so no cash is handled, as little as cash as possible. So walang mangungupit, walang nawawala, gano'n. So again, we learned a lot of lessons here. But ang pinaka-importante, ang management ng system.
Good evening, Mr. President. Maybe it's a good time to make a short report to you on what the task force Field Health has done so far since the day that you directed the Department of Justice to create the task force so that these big problems at Field Health may be addressed immediately. So I'd like to report to you, Mr. President, that all the component agencies of the task force, including the independent constitutional bodies, which we invited to help out in the task of the task force, have all been cooperating and supporting the task force in the discharge of its functions. They all understand the magnitude of the problem, Mr. President, and they also understand the need to effect immediate solutions to these problems. So, Mr. President, the strategy of the task force is as follows. Number 1, we requested the component agencies of the task force to expedite their ongoing investigations or special audits or resolve cases that are already pending with them involving officials of Field Health. As a result of that request, the Office of the Ombudsman has already preventively suspended 13 key officials of Field Health for cases that had been filed with the Office of the Ombudsman even before the creation of the task force, Mr. President. In addition, the task force itself has been conducting hearings as a group, and we have invited resource persons and witnesses, but we have zeroed in on certain particular centers of fraud. In the hearings of the Senate and the House of Representatives, and also in other fact-finding or investigating reports. We are focusing, Mr. President, more particularly on these centers of fraud. Number one is the IT system of PhilHealth, as described earlier by Sec Dominguez.
Sunny said, this is, as you have said, it's the system that's structured.
A good system is good information. If you don't have a good information system, it's not going to work. Okay.
Right now, Mr. President, the impression is that the information technology system of PhilHealth is fragmented, and it can easily be manipulated because there is no centralized control over the management information system. Number two, Mr. President, in our areas of focus is the legal sector. This seems to be one of the biggest sources of, well, allegedly fraudulent activities. We're still conducting our investigation, Mr. President, but so far in the fact-finding and investigation reports that we have received so far, including those from the Senate and the House of Representatives, it seems that the legal sector is a very ripe source of irregularities. Number three, Mr. President, is what is known as the Interim Reimbursement Mechanism, or IRM. We are focusing on that particular scheme, and this afternoon, the task force held its meeting, which zeroed in on the Interim Reimbursement Mechanism device. And lastly, also, Mr. President, on financial management. This is, again, one area where we believe that many irregularities in the past have been committed. In addition to the work, Mr. President, of the task force as a collective group, we also created composite teams to follow through the information that we received during the task force hearings or meetings. So these composite teams, Mr. President, are normally composed of the NBI, COA auditors, the AMLC, money laundering, and also the PACC, the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission. Even as these composite teams are going through the process of investigating more deeply these alleged irregularities, we can relate, we can connect the irregularities that we uncover during the investigation with the lifestyle of these people. So there might be a reinforcing effect. If we see that these guys are probably involved in this particular irregularity, they're making money, and it's being shown in their lifestyle. So, Mr. President, our ultimate objective within the time limit that you gave us is to be able to file legal actions with the Office of the Ombudsman. And also, we will try to make use of the reports that we receive from the Senate and the House of Representatives. Because as you probably very well know, the investigations that they conducted were supposed to be in aid of legislation, but the same evidence will be used also for the purpose of filing legal action, and that's a job of the task force. Mr. President, even as we do this, we hope to be able to make recommendations as well for structural reforms at PhilHealth. In the course of our investigation, we'll probably be able to discover what structural reforms need to be done at PhilHealth, and we're hoping that in this regard, Mr. President, the governance commission for government-owned and controlled corporations, which is under the Office of the President, GCG, Mr. President, will be able to make proposals for the reorganization, whether partial or total, of PhilHealth. More specifically, we have broached the idea to the GCG of creating an interim management committee for PhilHealth. And it's something that probably the Office of the President may direct the GCG to do so that they'll do it more immediately. Finally, Mr. President, we hope that the job or the work of the task force may also help in one way or another Congress in crafting new legislation to strengthen PhilHealth and make it more responsive to the needs of the people. That's all, Mr. President.
Okay, let me ask you this. This is a very troublesome office for all of us historically. But can we do it sa customs?
The customs, if you go to the customs office now, si Jagger has a very sophisticated system for monitoring all the shipments in the main ports in the country. Please visit. You didn't see it, eh? You didn't go inside, eh? He has done he's quite advanced sa sa digitalization. Pero again, hindi pa perfect. But he's moving towards that. In other words, alam ni Jagger at any time which shipment is being processed in what port. Mm-hmm. So he can, and then they monitor kung magkano ang value ng shipment and how much they collect, the taxes. If you use the information well, you can tell which is out of the ordinary, and you can spot that. Now, it's not perfect again, pero it's good getting there. So I think sa SONA, you mentioned that e-governance is very important, and I think Senator Go filed a bill on e-governance to eliminate red tape. So it makes it easier for the citizen to deal with you. It makes it easier for you to deal with them. So this is quite an important move.
Time to be. We've been training our horses for quite a long time, out of friendship, out of gratitude, helping me. I'm talking about me. Being president, so I had the help of this guy, the support of this guy, the party of what not. Ganito yan kay Jagger. I believe you. Si Jagger naman kasi I told him to fire Humamil. Sabi ko, but it took him quite about a lot of seasons to do it. No, but he was still there. Sabi ko kay Jagger, or through somebody, sisirain kanyan. Kay ito si Humamil, matagal na yan dyan sa airport, napaka-corrupt yung putang ina na yan. Sabi ko, huwag mo niyo ikat yan. Alam mo, yan lang ang nakita ko na dalawang trabaho, board member ng DBP at nagtatrabaho sa customs. Kaya sabi ko kay Jagger, bitawan mo yan, huwag kang maniwala. Maybe because Jagger was new at the time, and he would need somebody to guide him to navigate through all of this hula-bulo sa Congress. Pero sabi ko si Chris Humamil, tanggalin mo yan kasi yan, naglalaro yan matagal na siya. Butit na lang, I think he was also suspended by the ombudsman. Parang double whammy siya. Pero I have to name him publicly for being, ano ba ang tawag ko sa iyo? Sa Bisaya na lang. Putang ina balasubas nga eh. Alam mo bakit Bisaya ka? Ang mahirap sa iyo, sa panahon ko, you took advantage maybe because you helped me. And I want you to repay by just closing my eyes. I cannot understand why he was holding DBP director at the same time he was an employee of the customs. Sabi ko kay Dragon, bitawan mo yan pag hindi sisirain ka. Ay, malapit talaga siya nasira. I was considering, Jagger was considering of replacing you. Not because of anything. I can vouch na malinis ka. Problem is do not entertain loyalties, especially in government. If you think that that idiot is going to destroy you, you destroy him first. Do you have slides?
Yes, Mr.
So
President.
that we can follow you.
Mr. President and fellow members of the Cabinet, good evening. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss the fund utilization for the Social Amelioration Program, or SAP, under the DSWD and provide necessary updates regarding the number of beneficiaries served for the first and second tranche. At this point, allow me to begin by showing the summary of the DSWD's total budget for the Social Amelioration Program. For the whole implementation of the program, the DSWD has a total budget of 207.6 billion pesos. This is broken down into the 197 billion pesos released by the DBM, which was sent in tranches on April 2, April 16, and June 24, and the 10.6 billion pesos, which came from the realigned regular budget of the DSWD in order to support the necessary budgetary requirements of the program. The DSWD, along with our payout partners, both in the direct and digital schemes, have been working hard to ensure that this subsidy be distributed to its intended recipients. We remain committed in this undertaking to secure the 100% accomplishment rate. This concludes my presentation. Daghang salamat at mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you. It's a very good report.
The Department of Labor and Employment implemented three major programs, Mr. President, for workers in the formal and informal sectors, and especially the OFWs who have been badly affected by COVID-19. For these programs, Mr. President, we had a total funding of 12,400,000,000 sourced from the DOLE 2020 regular budget, 4.8 billion, Bayanihan 2.5 billion, and the recently released repatriation funds of 5 billion, Mr. President. Nagpapasalamat po yung mga OFW, Mr. President, because we did not really ask for this fund, but we were all surprised when you gave us 5 billion for repatriation expenses. The first major program of CAMP, Mr. President, of DOLE is called the CAMP, or COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program. It is a safety net that provides one-time financial assistance to the amount of 5,000 pesos to workers in the formal sector where there is an employer-employee relationship, regardless, of course, of the status of employment, whether regular, casual, contractual, or even probationary. CAMP has a total budget of 3,311,000,000 plus sourced from our regular budget funds. It benefited 662,213 workers in the formal sector. We have fully utilized, Mr. President, our funds program in June 2020. However, our camp applicants reached 1.6 million workers coming from almost 60,000 establishments. Hence, close to 1 million workers have not been served. However, Mr. President, all camp applications have been shared with DOF and SSS for their small business wage subsidy program. And for this, about 183,000 camp applicants have been benefited by the small business wage subsidy of the Department of Finance and SSS. Thank you to Secretary Dominguez, Mr. President.
Yeah, with your inspiring leadership, Mr. President, gusto kong balita sa inyo at siguro alam na rin ninyo na ang sektor ng agrikultura po ay lumago during the second quarter of the year, 1.6% in spite of the pandemic.
Secretary, pardon me, but I know this is not it's not your main line. But bakit maraming recoveries ang Pilipinas vis-a-vis with other countries?
Sir, marami po sa atin, sir, asymptomatic po, sir, at saka, sir, mild cases. If you will see in the graph, 55,236 cases. Out of that 55,000, 50,000 are only mild or 91.5% po, sir.
Mga kababayan ko, we close this Talk to the People program of the government by allowing me to say this, that government will account for every money. Sabi ko, dalawa ito, baka malito kayo na scandal. You might think of something else na one for the other. Dalawa ito, itong PhilHealth. Ito yung iniimbestiga ngayon ni Secretary Guevara. Yung ibang investigasyon sa Congress, o bahala sila. Basta ito, ang maglaro dito in the end, it will be filed before the Ombudsman. Tapos, yan ang may skandalo, may nakawan ng pera. Itong COVID bayanihan 1 and 2, malinis ito. Ang humahawak sa itaas nito, si isang ahensya, integrated agencies. Pero ang sa pera, how do I say this? The people that I have tasked, yung binigyan ko ng responsibility, pagtingin ito na para mahusay ang takbo at walang nakukurakot na pera. Ang sa taas nito ay si General Lorenzana. Siya yung pinakamataas dito sa informal namin. Then it's Secretary Anyo, General Anyo. Then it's General Galvez, Secretary Galvez. Puro yan sila military. And why? Well, yan ang paniwala ko. People might disagree with me, fine. But I have been with government almost 40 years. I will end, kung buhayin ako ng Panginoon Diyos, 40 years. Bago ako, 40 years ako sa politika. Alam ko ang laro ng gobyerno, pati anang buhay. So ginagawa namin lahat, hintayin na lang natin yung bakuna. Merong medisina galing Japan, pati itong remdesivir, pati Avigan. Ito yung pang laban sa kung ano pa, ito yung sa lagnat. Hindi ito yung gamot. Ang gamot yung vaccine. Ang vaccine ay gawa sa katawan ng tao. Malapit na yan, Russia, China, I don't know if anybody, alam ko lang yung dalawa, nag-announce na meron sila and ready and they're willing to help. Both countries have lumabas ng statement that tulungan nila ako. Kung may bayad o hindi masyado klaro noon. But kung may bayad, dahil marami masyado, di utangin natin. Credit na lang. Or hanap tayo ng loan. But if it's not, I am sure that they are willing to give us that na privilege of borrowing from them. Ang mauna, malapit na yan, ang China any day would announce it. Ang mauna sa bakuna, ulitin ko, ay yung mga tao na nasa listahan ng gobyerno na tumatanggap ng pantawid. Ito yung mga mahirap. Ang sunod yon, yung mga tao na hindi nakalista at mahirap. Hindi kayo. Kaya lang noon, palipat-lipat kayo ng lugar, wala kayong ikangataw fixed address. Kaya hindi ka nakalista sa barangay. Sila ang susunod. Pero mauna sa lahat, ang mga military pati pulis. Kasi kung walang pulis pati military, babagsak tayo. Sino magwardya sa atin? At yung mga taga-gobyerno, kung gusto ninyo, ako ang mauna para magkaroon kayo ng kumpiyansa, or I can be the last Filipino to get purahin kayong lahat. Pahuli kami. Basta sigurado ang pinag-usapan dito na hindi mahuli ang mga mahirap ngayon dito sa gobyerno na to. Maraming salamat sa inyo.